Hi there, collective, and welcome all signs. This is just going to be a general November reading for you. All right, so I'm going to pull a few cards here. Hope you enjoy. So, up first, it looks like we have the Eight of Cups. Okay. So I can already tell that you have already walked away from a very dicey situation. Okay. Something has not emotionally fulfilled you in a very long time. And you are now finally saying no to that situation, okay? Because it really no longer serves you. It doesn't serve your best interest. I feel like, this witch, she's already won her prize. She's already gathered up her resources here in her bag. She doesn't need anything else or anything more from this certain situation that has been unfolding, this certain energy that's been unfolding for quite some time now. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Okay, yep, we have the high priest. We have two keys, the sun key and the moon key. Okay, and then we have this like shaman, mystical, magical priest looking dude here. Okay, so the Hierophant, okay, what he's actually doing with like those two fingers, I feel like he's like almost like sort of giving his blessing for you to move on from this situation if you've been questioning it, and is it the right time, is it the right path? And it absolutely is the right time and the right path. You can even see this witch is like heading off on her own path here, away from the table with the cups on it. Okay, um because I just think even with the steam coming off one of these cups, I feel like that steam was like, you know, there she needed to like you needed to like blow off steam here a little bit, because it's like the energy was really not doing you any good. Okay, there's been many moon phases, been many new days, new horizons, and it's just come to a final end for you with this particular energy. Okay, so yeah. All right, so that being said, we have the witch's braid. Oh, wow. Yeah, I love this. So you might actually be braiding your hair. You might be thinking of braiding your hair. Or maybe when you were a kid, you braided your hair a lot. I love how tied into these braids are like feathers. There's even like some sticks, herbs, um, ribbons. It's just really is a time of, I feel like, like ritually, like almost like it's like you've grown and matured, and to someone who is, you're now fully like invested in nurturing your inner child, nurturing yourself, um really staying true to who you are. I feel like you have, there's like that funny, like, how like girls braid each other's hair, or like, they get into that sort of like, you know, like sisters braiding each other hair, best friends braiding each other's hair. It's sort of like a ritualistic practice, I feel like, of like becoming friends, or like, supporting each other, and it really ties into like this like sisterhood, okay, and this sense of sisterhood. And wow, I think that there are like women in your life who support you and who want you to feel empowered and want you to grow and learn and explore who you are and what you stand for and what you're about. And then I feel like there might be another group of women that are very like anti social, and they're very like cut off, or very like, because the braid is like cut off here. I feel like they've cut themselves off, or they've isolated themselves away from being part of your life, being like kind of like the fabric of life being like weaved into your life. So I feel like you're looking for women who, you're grown, right? So you're not necessarily gonna be like braiding each other's hair. That would be weird. But you are. I mean, I've seen grown women braid each other's hair on like the show Survivor. So it's not really that weird. But the thing is like there's a natural, like, soulful collective energy of sisterhood and women supporting women, and then there's like women who haven't really tapped into that. Maybe they never will, I don't know, but I think you're one of those women that you support other women and empowerment, and in like there are certain just like rules and boundaries that it's kind of like an unspoken rule that, you don't try to like steal each other's men, or you try, or, you don't like step on each other's toes, right? Or you don't intentionally try to like sabotage the other, right? And if you are like playing a game, right, like, and or you're doing some kind of competition, right, then there are certain rules, right, where you understand, one of you has to win, right? But if you're not in a game setting and it's just like life in general, and there's like some kind of disconnect right there. So I would definitely stay away from women who like hurt other women right now at this time, because I just don't feel like it's healthy for you. Even if you're, related to someone like that, I just don't think it's a good time for you to be like talking to them, because, you know, um, it's just like a weird energy. Yeah, we have the Seven of Wands here, this like black shadowy figure trying to tie itself onto or latch itself onto this woman here. Um, and she's holding a torch of light here. Okay. So it's very certain to me that in this shadow, dark wood, dream esque subconscious level um, of your life, okay, you are really lighting a torch for yourself right now. You are letting this fire burn bright, exploring your creativity and your passion. But there are still those energetic vampires. That's what this dark shadowy claw hand figure is all about. It's all about making you fear yourself or your decisions. Okay, so um, there's a really is a force that doesn't want you to succeed or doesn't want you to be happy. I'm just gonna lay it out there. It really is like a dark, like, shadowy energy. Okay, it's someone who is like really wants to steal your light and steal your happiness. Yeah, we have the Six of Wands. Okay, we have all of these women, um, and they are on this path. There's another woman, like an elven woman, holding a baby. Um, this goes back to like this old tradition, like superstitious tradition of like um, a group of like fairy, like supernatural women that would take babies. Okay, but it's like, what is really being taken from you right now? What do you feel is the lesson here? I think the lesson is to take care of and nurture yourself and your inner child, and really do the work um, for yourself here, because you are being supported here. Okay, so even though it's like, even though there doesn't seem to be a lot of light surrounding your decision, even though there doesn't seem to be a lot of like signs maybe for you that you have chosen the right path by leaving this like spirit. I feel like it's like an evil spirit. I feel like this person or these people the situation, this energy was very negative space, very holding a very negative space in your life. And you've walked away from it and you're so used to the negative energy that you were around for so long and toxic. I feel like it's toxic energy too. That since you've walked away from it, it feels weird. Like it feels like unnatural to you. But it actually is the opposite of that. It actually is like very natural for you to choose yourself. Okay, and that's like the higher form. That's like the spiritual guru, you know, like teacher, advisor, whoever it is that's like you chose the right path. Now it's time for you to figure out what's coming next. Okay, because I feel like this is has to do with your past energy. Okay, that you had to make this choice, and now that you have your figuring out what's next. Oh my God, we've got the magician and the high priestess. Wow. Oh my God, very powerful duo here. Okay. It's like the teacher of the divine masculine, the teacher of the divine feminine, coming together, and really have shared their wisdom and their knowledge with you and really empowered you to focus on your talents and focus on your strengths. And because these other I want to say they were women, but also there were definitely uh, men involved as well. So I don't think they were in tune with their divine feminine. I don't think they were in tune with the divine masculine. I don't think they were channeling good, holy magician, hierophant energy or high priestess energy. I feel like they were very, you know, almost like you using you as like a scapegoat for all of their problems, and all their toxic energy and choices. And you've kind of just been like, you know what? I have people I can go to when I'm feeling down on myself or when I'm feeling down about things or situations. So I don't really need to go to these people anymore, go to this source of energy anymore. And it wasn't like they were your teachers anyway. It wasn't like they were wise prophetesses and prophets. It wasn't like they were really sharing any wisdom with you anyway to begin with. But you were kind of like, I feel like you were kind of sort of magicianing and high priestessing sort of the influx of energies that you were picking up on. And a lot of the time it was like really negative. It was so negative. Okay. But since then you have kind of like collected yourself and realized like, wow, what I'm doing is actually on my own here without these toxic people in my life. I've now actually found something totally different that actually feels positive for once, and that actually feels good, and that's actually normal. Okay, so the magician and the high priestess, like, they just want to come in there and just want to remind you, like, you know you're doing the right thing. Okay, this is your sign here. Okay, play with magic, play with the tarot, like, play with your spirituality, see where it takes you. Don't lose sight of who you are. Trust your intuition. High priestess, intuition. The magician, using your tools, your tools, your infinite wisdom, your totems. Okay, you've got the chalice, the sword, the wand, and the pentacle. These are like your totems. These are your symbols. If you don't have something that you might feel is your totem, you can go back to these items, these four sacred items. And the infinity symbol, again, is another sign. Infinite wisdom, infinite magic, infinite possibilities. The 1111 portal was yesterday. So, that's the portal of wishes, and so wish fulfillment, right? So you'll see maybe a lot of synchronicities. Judgment, yeah. You kind of had to like toot your horn a little bit here, okay? These mice popping out of the graves here, okay? And the cat is the judgment, okay? Angel here, right? With the sun rising behind the cat, okay? You had to make a judgment call here. You did have to make some, statement here, okay? Some unapologetic statement that's just like, I'm not going to tolerate this toxicity anymore, right? So you had, and I feel like this is, I feel like what you're seeing here is a little bit of, you know, a lesson maybe from your childhood, where, maybe you were more like a teenager, but I feel like you definitely experienced, like, being like, not part of like an it group or a clique or some sort. um but it's okay because you weren't meant to fit in to that group. Okay. And I feel like that group is very shallow anyway, materialistic. And I feel like you are a very deep person. And that's why you feel things very deeply. But you also understand, because you feel things very deeply, you also understand when people are using their feelings to manipulate others and hurt others and have a scapegoat and have this and have that. And it's like, there's more than enough resources, there's more than enough, you know, everything to go around. But for some reason, this energy was tied very, very, like, to materialistic, shallow things. And they thought they could pull you in. And they're very, very, very sorely mistaken, because you've learned this lesson before. Um, yeah, so going into like your shadow work, your shadow energy here, okay, you have the Seven of Swords. So yes, you did have to definitely like ninja your way out of this one. Maybe literally, I don't know, maybe you had to literally turn into a ninja. No, but you really had to like sort out what is important to you versus what is not important to you. It wasn't a very hard decision, okay? It was not a very difficult decision. However, you could feel the tension, okay? Swords definitely, there is a lot of tension when there's swords involved. So you had to pick up your swords and leave the others behind, okay? In other words, you had to pick up your resentment or your anger or your frustration towards these individuals who hurt you, who did you dirty. And instead of like picking a fight with them, because look, these swords are stuck in the ground. They're not budging. They're not going anywhere. Okay. They're fixated on being stuck. Okay. Um, they have like a very misaligned interpretation of like being grounded, being spiritual, being one with the earth and one with nature. Um, but that's they have to figure that out on their own. That's not really for you to figure out for them, okay? And you picked up your swords and you're moving on. Now you had to do it in a like ninja-esque way, because ninjas are very swift, right? You're not supposed to see them. You're not supposed to know they're there. They go in, they come out, right? Like assassins, right? So you had to really like almost like assassinate their energy. You had to like kill and destroy their energy, okay? And not just completely annihilate it. Like by doing something for yourself, by getting away from them, you really pointed out what's important to you versus what's important to them. And they can be misled by lies or excuses or sort of like I want to feel like it's like a shield almost, or like it's more like a wall or a boundary or like a it's definitely some form of protection, that's for sure, of energy that, while may not be exactly the energy you were hoping for, it's proof that something is moving in the right direction. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I feel like you were really testing a relationship here with this one. And I feel like this person um, definitely like proved that they are intending on moving in the right direction with you, okay? So maybe it was almost like a protection for you, and for them it was, you know it was more for you than it was for them, but I think that is what you were hoping for anyway. You don't want anyone to know that, you're like a CIA agent, you're a secret CIA agent or something. You're a secret assassin. That's your job. You don't want people to know that. So, in that case, maybe your best friend or your spouse had to, or both, maybe your spouse is your best friend, maybe they had to sort of be like, oh, here's a story. But the reality is that you have like a secret mission and no one can know about it, because then they will like out you. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not good at accepting people. They're not good at keeping secrets, or they're not good at like honoring you or respecting you. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. Okay, then we have the Temperance card and the Page of Swords. So just as you find your footing here on your, secret path here that no one knows about, we have the Page of Swords. Okay, so we have a ballerina holding a sword, which is interesting because ballerinas, they're doing a dance, they're floating, through the air in their slippers, doing a ballet, classical music is playing, and then here is a very sharp tool, like a sharp, like en- energy here. Okay. And I feel like this sword is like, I don't know if you've seen Ballerina. It's part of the John Wick franchise. It just came out, like it was released for streaming a little while ago. But ballerinas, it's no joke. Like it's not like, it's like a sport basically, and it's not easy to master. Not everyone can do it. And she was also a trained assassin. The ballerina thing was just like a cover. Okay, so I feel like you sort of play this like, oh, just this gentle, innocent ballerina. Whoa, if you look at the training behind a ballerina, it's very rigorous. It's very aggressive. It looks gentle and swift and beautiful when they're floating through, flying on the stage there, dancing across the stage there. But in actual reality, what it takes to look so smooth and gentle is actually a lot of like tension is almost like built into it and then released, and then built into it and then released. So I feel like a lot of people look at you and they see like this tiny little person that can't amount to anything, right? Doesn't have anything, truly stand out about them, right? The thing that stands out about you is that you're tiny and small, right? But you actually have all this strength inside of you and all this incredible, um, power and ability to channel that power into something really truly magnificent and wonderful. And it's amazing how much you've already accomplished with your life. Okay, so I feel like you were born to just really prove, not just to yourself, but I feel like, you know, I don't think you're living for other people, but I feel like you prove to yourself time and time again how much of a great person and talent you are. And other people look at that and they're like, huh, how is that possible? And it's like, you don't want to be friends with those people though, okay? Like you want to be around people who are like encouraging to keep tapping into that. And you don't want to be around people who are constantly telling you not to tap into that and be distracted. Okay. And then the Temperance card, right? Here's your rainbow, here's your angel by the water. There's a mystical, wave of water. How is she doing that? How is Temperance keeping that water from falling on the ground? And it's going in motion back and forth, flowing back and forth between these two cups. Okay, this is kind of like your guardian angel of emotions right here, okay? The Temperance card, because she really is basically saying to you that flow of energy is like untapped potential turning into potential, into turning into like your craft or what it is that you do, the magic about you, the mystic about you. Okay. It's, and the rainbow represents love and hope, and the sun is just like illuminating all of that. Okay, it's warming it all up, it's warming you up, it's getting you prepared. Okay, and what you're preparing for here is, I feel like, a shift in like a power struggle or power dynamic that has been going on for way too long. Okay, and yeah, and you feel foolish for even trying this. Look, we've got the Fool card. You feel foolish for even trying this. Okay, you feel like, what am I doing here, right? But this Fool, I mean, she looks very sure of herself. There's a spider like dangling from its like web here. She's got her red pack on, she's got the fox, the cat. She doesn't have shoes on, but she's got these cool red socks, and her dress is got tears and tatters in it, but she doesn't care. She's ready for the adventure of her life. Okay, it's not about what she's like adorned with, right? It's not about what we like wear necessarily. It's more about what's on the inside. And your reading is really showing me that for a very long time, a lot of people have been looking at the outside of you and comparing and contrasting and labeling you from what's on the outside appearance of what you look like. But I feel like when you look past that, the truest form of like flattery and the truest form of like a deep emotional connection or a friendship or a purpose, it comes from knowing who you are on the inside and seeing you for who you are on the inside. And you don't need other people to see that. You need to see that first within yourself. So it does seem kind of foolish. It does seem kind of like, whoa, this is like, how am I even doing this right now? Or what am I even doing right now? Like, I look stupid or I feel stupid. But you only feel that way and you only think that way because of all the other people, all the other toxic people you were around for so long. Okay, that were telling you you weren't good enough, that weren't supporting you, that were scapegoating you, that were like really just not supporting you at all emotionally. Okay, and you've walked away from that. Okay, the Eight of Cups, the first card right out for your reading, is this card of walking away from all of that. Okay, and finding your purpose. And you've got the blessings, you've got the answers. Okay, so you've got the solutions here. Now it's just a matter of piecing it all together and putting it, out there on display, like like you're working on a painting or something, and you're, little paint here, a little bit paint there, not really sure what it is yet, but you have an idea of what it is, and then voila, it's done, it's beautiful, it's a masterpiece, it's you. Okay, look, the Magician card comes out again. Yeah, that's again just another sign of synchronicity, another sign you're on the right path. Okay, so this Magician, as above, so below. That's getting messages from the spiritual world. So your dreams, for instance, your visions, for instance. I feel like you have been having dreams and visions lately, of women who have not supported you in the past, who continuously prove they can't support you in the way you want them to, they just don't understand you in the way you want them to, or they just judge you poorly, or they just try to sabotage you at any chance they get. Like, there's all these like very negative like messages, right? What that really translates to, okay, to me, is that for so long you haven't felt supported, and it does hurt not feeling supported, and it does hurt feeling like you can't trust anyone. But there are so many other people in the world that you can trust, that are meant for you to find on your path. Okay. And I feel like in these dreams and stuff, you were basically like saying goodbye to these people anyway, and you're basically like kicking them out of your home anyway. And I feel like you are basically taking back what's yours, taking back your sacred space. Okay. And maybe you had to do it in a more like literal way so you could see what it looks like in a literal way. But I think you're also doing it in an energetic way too. Um, so yeah, so yeah, yep, and the magician has the sword, the pentacle, the cup, the wand, tarot cards. Like this is what you need right now. You need more like magician energy in your life. Okay? And I feel like this magician is also like the woman in the crone era. Okay. So this is like your future self. Okay. Kind of basically allowing you, well, I don't know how old you are. So it, could be now. I don't know. But the fool is like the start of the journey, the start of the spiritual process of being in line with your divine feminine energy, okay? Which we have like the triple moon goddess, maiden, mother, crone. These are like the three stages, the major like psychic, what card is that? The major psychic stages of your like cycle of life. Okay, so you have the maiden, which I feel is very strongly in tune and connected here to the full energy. Okay, not sure what to do, not sure where to go, just trying out a new path, a new adventure. And then you fast forward and you get to the magician card. Okay, which is like you really passing on tools and ideas and advice and information to and what you've learned from life, your memories. I also feel like this could be like this is like the flow of like memories I'm getting. Like you have had these same similar like lessons, karmic lessons in your past. um However, it's like different people, different setting, but similar lesson. Okay. Like I think in your past you definitely were like feeling like you were part of like an in crowd, or you felt like you were like somebody who was like important in your friend group, but then I feel like your friends, your soul sisters as you thought they were, like turned away from you, went to different things, tried different things, different people, different groups, and it just left you feeling alone. But what did you learn about that? You learned that that's not the way to treat another person, right? Like it's okay to say, hey, I'm going to go off and try something new, but we're still like, we're never going to be enemies or anything like that. But it's like a totally different vibe when you completely feel like that connection was completely, just like annihilated. Okay. So I also feel like you know the signs when someone is trying to actively annihilate you, and you can take a few steps ahead and be like, I know what you're trying to do. That's not okay. It's not right to treat people like that. And for that reason, we can both go our separate ways. That's a mature response. And people are gonna be like, what? No way. But that's what you need to do sometimes. Okay. And I feel like this magician is like taking memories from their past and she's really channeling them now in. And she's even pointing to the tarot cards on the table. Okay. So we also have here, stay optimistic about your love life. Positive thinking and faith will bring you romance. Okay. So this woman, clearly she's making offerings to, the love gods here, of flowers and such. She obviously wants to bring in and channel love into her life. Okay. So I did just finish like all the soulmate readings, so you can check them out. Sagittarius is a bit long, but I mean, you can fast forward through it or skip through it or take breaks, but I definitely feel like it's worth it. And please check them out if you are interested in hearing about your soulmate connection. Okay. But anyways, so getting into that a little bit, we have the Knight of Pentacles because this is collective. So, Knight of Pentacles. So this man is holding up his pentacle, which is basically looks like a seed here from an apple, apple seed, and pointing it toward this owl. Okay, owls are all about wisdom. They're all about like death, transformation, you know, and he's obviously like giving it an offering here. Okay. So you are very wise, and it makes sense that you would want to be with someone who's wise like you. Okay, someone who understands respecting death and that is a part of the life cycle, and is very wise when it comes to that topic and understanding it. And I feel like you might be having conversations with, it could be a man, or it could be you feeling an energy or something like that you're picking up on, where this person understands and respects the same level of things that you do, um, and like what you're doing now with your life. Yeah, Page of Pentacles. So we have the Knight of Pentacles and the Page. Yeah, I feel like you and your person are very, like, you're on the same level. I also think that this person, you know, they look at, like, this woman had her clothes are like torn here a bit. There's this definitely this in this knight, he has very fine clothes on. So maybe this knight, he comes from like a wealthy family, where he has money. He doesn't need to worry about like the clothes on his back. He always has money. Pentacles represent money, so he never goes without. Okay, but also I feel like you are someone who comes from a completely different background, where you probably didn't have a lot of money. Okay, and where you might have had to wear hand me downs. You might have had to go to, uh, you know, like Salvation Army or something like that to buy clothes. And you take a lot of pride and joy in the money that you do make, because it is, for you, it's very like rewarding to know that you've worked hard to get there. You've had to make sacrifices. Nothing was handed to you. This Knight of Pentacles is handing over his pentacle to the owl. So I feel like he is willing to almost like contribute to your life, even if you don't have a lot. Okay. So yeah. Oh, look at this. We've got the Lover's card. So yeah, these two are clearly like making love. And this woman, she's pointing to the star up in the sky, like a making a wish. Okay. So I really feel like you and your person wish to be together. These two have like a lot of like tribal paintings or like tattoos on both of their bodies. So they definitely have they definitely have very similar souls. Okay, so maybe you and your person really both like getting tattoos, or you're both very spiritual people. And I feel like you pointing at the star is like, you know, you're very like in tune with spirituality and wish fulfillment, and you probably both are like into astrology or something like that too. So look for the signs. I feel like this is like, look for the signs for your soulmate connection here. Okay. Yep. Five of Pentacles. So this woman is headed toward this home with the warmth, the fireplace, the lights are on. There's a child holding her dress here in this winter storm. So you have been through your fair share of winter storms before, okay? You know what it's like to go without. You know what it's like to seek warmth and shelter, in both a spiritual way, a metaphorical way, an emotional way. And the pentacles, that represents shelter, warmth, security, okay, stability. And I feel like you're still maybe in that stage of seeking that. Maybe you haven't fully felt it yet, but you're close. Okay. It's right there in front of you, I feel like. And you are going to start feeling that, I think, a lot more very soon if you don't already feel it. So now I have some other stuff for you. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. All right, so now I have some angel cards for you. Archangel Gabriel, messenger of creativity and hope. Okay? So you have a lot of creativity, you have a lot of hope for yourself. The Archangel Gabriel has all these children um, all around her, and they love her, they give her hugs. Like, I feel like you are one of those warm, beautiful energies that, make people feel safe and make people feel secure. And it's a beautiful quality to have, okay? Then we have letting go, learn to let go. Yeah, this woman is like calling for someone. There's butterflies, there's like a boy and a girl. Um, he's pointing toward this girl here with calling. It's I feel like this is a mystical, magical place. The tree is like the shape of a face. Yeah, like, don't let go of expectations, okay? Because I think, like, when you let go of expectations, then you bring yourself closer to spirit and to source. So let go of expectations of like finding your soulmate today or tomorrow, or having that connection today or tomorrow, because I think there is a lot of change happening. There is a lot of like metamorphosis happening here. So we also have 7 heavenly virtues, keys to goodness. Ooh. And look, it's a shooting star, making a wish, and keys to goodness. The Hierophant had the keys, right? The moon and the sun. Okay? The moon and the stars and the sun. And all of that came out. The stars came out, the sun came out behind temperance. Okay, the judgment has the sun behind it. So you're starting to see it all come together. Okay. um and we have the 7 deadly sins. Okay, humanity's destructive traits. Yeah, you're banishing those destructive traits away. um yeah, you have the animals as your spirit guides. You have like this, she has this rainbow energy coming out of her hands. We saw with temperance the rainbow behind her. Okay, you can banish away with your love and with your hope. You can banish away all those negative energies. Okay, you don't need to let them in your life. Okay, and I feel like they do. Humanity does have very destructive traits. That's what makes humans humans. But I think there's a point where you have to sort of like separate yourself from people who are doing things destructive intentionally to you. If they do it to themselves, that's their problem. And you can tell them, like, that's not a good idea. And then they can go about their way and go about and do what they want with that information. But you don't have to be around people who are being destructive, because it really does bring your energy down, like, a lot. Okay? And look, we have the unicorn. Invite serendipity. Okay, serendipity is really like another like beautiful. There's like Taurus on here on the unicorn, and then there's like Virgo, I think, on her necklace, or it could be Scorpio. Not sure, but maybe you can tell. But anyways, so yeah, so maybe some Taurus, Virgo, Scorpio energy in there. But it's okay to like get on your mystical, magical, imaginary unicorn and ride away from the negativity, ride away from it, sail away, fly away from it. Okay. And serendipity is like those things that happen to you when you're like least expecting them to, right? Like, you might just think, okay, I just got out of bed, I'm gonna go about my day, nothing major is gonna happen today, and then all of a sudden, something fun happens, something exciting happens. You make a new connection, you make a new friend. You find out that, like, you were meant to get up this morning for a reason. Okay, you connected with somebody. Like, these are real things that happen. Okay, they seem magical, they seem made up, right? But they are real. Okay, just like unicorns are real. Okay, so you're like in the wrong crowd of people when they don't believe in unicorns. okay? Or they don't believe in unicorns, but that's fine. But then they make a point of constantly reminding you they don't believe in unicorns. It's like, I don't want to hear it. Like, they're intentionally trying to hurt you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't believe in unicorns, that's fine. Just stop coming at me and telling me it because I don't want to hear it. You know, boundaries. Um, Choices, boundaries, choices. Make the best choices. Yeah, I feel like choices is another word for boundaries. Like, make the right boundaries, put the right boundaries in place, make the right choices. Um, Again, I feel like the high priest too and the temperance card, they're really they're really emphasizing, enough is enough already. Okay, you deserve to have some fun. You deserve to have some enjoyment and peace and love in your life, and you know, don't hold back anymore. Okay, just make your choices. Dolphin, don't worry, be happy. I love this. Don't worry, be happy, like the Bob Marley song. Space, I need more time to think. Yeah, you definitely need more time to think and more space. Um, yeah, I feel like somebody made a lot of mistakes around you. Um, a free spirit. You're definitely like a free spirit here. Okay. Last quarter, what is holding you back? Yeah, don't hold back anymore. Be yourself. Okay. And that's going to bring you really, oh, look, first quarter, it's time to commit. See? It's time to commit now. All right. And we've got the creator and the maiden. Look at this. Yep. The maiden, mother, crone. And then we have Circe's love and mother yourself. Okay. So that's my reading for you. Okay. You're a beautiful soul. You have a lot of beautiful energy. And you're going to do, you're going to do great, amazing, wonderful things with your life. Don't hold back anymore. The 11 portal has already officially opened. So I know I'm posting this on the 12th, but you know, yeah, now it's time for the messages to come through. So that was my message for you. Keep loving yourself, nurturing your inner child, self-love, self-care. Stay away from those toxic people. Stay away from people who don't support your dreams or your goals, who use you as a scapegoat, who constantly attack you. If you're a mom, they attack your children. Nobody stands up for you or loves you or supports you. Stay away from people like that. Okay, because there's a very strong, like, feminine energy coming through here where there are other people in the world, like other women who support other women. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that. The select few that don't understand that concept. Okay, love and light always. Thank you so much for watching. Mommy, bye. Mommy.